Hello and greetings outlaws from Sherwood Forest. If you have seen any of my Remnant build videos, they are mostly made to be practical and fun. I don't like the new wave of YouTube videos about Remnant 2 builds where you just do this for 5 seconds and you do the same thing for 5 seconds in front of a boss as well. Because that's deceiving, you don't have fun with those builds are mostly for showcase. Now I like to have very practical builds and fun ones, so what are my choices? Hunter Focus from the Hunter. That armor set. It's also very important that you have the mythical relic fragments, otherwise this build doesn't do enough damage. The Crescent Moon, the supercharger. This has of course the boar and the time weave. More about it a bit later. Gunslinger with the bullet storm. Lemir sensor, sapphire gemstone, bright steel ring, probability cord, and archer crest. The traits are fortify, potency, I just like it. I'll show you why. Vigor, spirit, expertise, siphoner, and of course bark skin. Now, if you want to do the YouTube video with all of the damage and none of the fun attached to it, you can just replace some things over here that will make things a lot easier for you to deal the highest amount of damage. Also, this will be replaced by the tentacle mode, which is root lash, and this can be anything you like. You're not really abusing it. You can mostly replace it with a twisting wound. But I recommend you deal the bleed damage with the grenade, because the grenade has 30 seconds of bleed, which might make things a lot easier for you. But the problem with this is you never have the perfect opportunity to deal the maximum amount of damage. Why? Because if you activate Molan Barrage for 15 seconds and then you activate another skill, you dodge roll, you might heal or do something else, you do a perfect dodge, then you have about 5 seconds from this, 10 seconds from this, and Gunslinger will have, let's say, 5 seconds as well. You'll just be in a mess because you also need to do perfect shots. And I'll show you when I speak about the skills. So this is the perfect damage, but at the same time, if you just want highest damage, you'll not be using this bomb. You'll probably be using this one, or this one. Probably this one because you can attach something to it, mod. The weak spot damage is 115%, the crit hit chance is 10%. This is 70 with 5. So as you can see, this is only good when you're using the Moonlight Barrage. So a build like this doesn't make sense unless you're doing a 5-second video. So okay, let's go over my choices. Why the Hunter Focus instead of the Hunter Shot? Well, the Hunter Shot needs you to stay 1 second basically not firing, which is a silly way to lose DPS. It has a long cooldown, it doesn't last as much, harder to maintain, and even more, if you are shrouded, the Moonlight Barrage hits don't come back to you. So that means you'll be losing 50% reload speed, which is 50% fire rate. You'll also be losing the healing plus the arrow, which is kind of annoying because you just been nerfing your build. So Hunter's Focus is the best. If you don't plan on hitting weak spot, you can use the Hunter Mark, but that's only for the general build. That of course, because this is Apocalypse, you don't want to run around with 40% damage reduction, you need as much as possible. I think 66 is a good number. And why Leto? Because of the way the potency works. And also the fortify. Now, you will have, let's say, 220. That means with this trait you get 330 armor. If you have, let's say, 150 armor, this trait will be a lot less valuable. And then the bark skin will also be a lot less valuable, because this is not 10%, I think it's 4% only, yeah. So because of the calculation being fixed, you have to take as much defense as possible from the traits so you don't suffer in your main build. Well, this is pretty self-explanatory. Sometimes we'll have bosses or even elites that don't have a weak spot. So if you're fighting the elites in Asia, the big guys in the red throne, yeah, the build will be very bad. Or if you're fighting a boss with no visible weak spot or a very hard to hit weak spot, it's not going to do even enough damage to kill the boss in reasonable time. So we need 22.5 seconds of Moonlight Barrage, otherwise your damage potential will never reach its true capacity, and besides you can just deal more damage overall, so you don't need you don't need those big crits, so it's a lot less stressful to build damage over time like this. Now the Bright Steel Ring, of course, because you don't want to be hit And you don't want to lose your armor, and you don't want to lose your 45 bonuses, so I guess there's some... See, this is what I mean, there are not a lot of choices. Now, some people might be confused by why the Sapphire Brimstone. Well, simply put, you will be on cooldown sometimes, so if you use the Hunter's Focus and you hit the weak spot damage, plus with the Bore mod, that means you'll be always hitting the weak spot, or more or less as much as possible. So that means you'll be able to extend this to almost 1 minute max duration. And that also means you'll be able to use this basically another time. So basically, I can use Hunter's Focus and the Bullet Storm for about 1 minute. Yeah, that means I have about 1 minute of maximized damage. Now, there's a catch to this. It will have to go on cooldown and you can recover it pretty fast. Also using the Xenoplasm plus the expertise of 40% less cooldown. Basically, you get 50% less skill cooldown if you use these 3 things, which is great. A no-brainer. There are not a lot of rings that increase crit damage, so much here. You also really need this. Now, in order to get those perfect shots, you need to practice a little bit. So see how much time you need for a fully charged shot. Put the sound effect to it. And then let's activate the bonuses. Also use these things, the fairy needles, just because you have a problem generating the mod bar needed for these 2 skills. So the full activation looks something like this. It's actually kind of a little dance. So use Q, use a relic if you can, the board, and then use this. And then you just go on. And then as you can see, you can have about 500 FPS. Now the damage model is also busted. You can also go up to 7000 basically per hit if you really want it. Now as you can see, we're on cooldown, but we only have 1 cooldown. So if you cannot hit the weak spot, just do it like this, and you'll also be extending it. Use another relic, that's also 50% extra damage. Don't worry about it. Okay, we have the attack. That's another 20 seconds with another 20 seconds. So at this point, if you use another relic, you'll extend it again. So that's basically what I was telling you about 1 minute of this stuff. So the problem with the bow builds, even though they can do 1 million damage, is the normal damage is 700, let's say 800 against normal enemies with perfect shots, 1500 for a crit. is how fast you'll kill a normal elite enemy without any skills. So now let's apply the skills. And now let's apply also the weak spot damage. They'll flinch sometimes and you cannot shoot them, so I just have to say that it's impossible to get the numbers you get in training at the dummy against normal enemies, because the normal enemies will do something like that. Look, if they flinch, that means you lose access to the weak spot, but as you can see, damage is basically in 3 stages. Stage number 1, nothing, it's very low to be honest, and stage number 2, with all of your skills activated, and the mod, which is basically almost the same as the weak spot damage, unless you are fighting a boss, which the boss doesn't flinch as... I mean, the bosses don't flinch like that and you don't lose any damage time or damage potential, but overall, even though this is a fun and great build, it seems like you're challenging yourself a lot just to use all of the skills and the things at the same time.